What's up? Welcome back to my channel, or for the first time if you're new, I'm Sylvan, and today I'm going to be reacting to Feixiao's character trailer. It's finally out, and I'm really excited to see what we got in here. I've been heavily anticipating this and just the new version in general, so let's just get straight into it. Feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video, and leave a comment on your thoughts, and let's get into it. It's called Nothing to Laugh At. Ooh, I'm already liking the vibes. Oh, the transition of that was nice. Oh? Okay, still Japanese voices. Not surprised. Throws it away! Oh! Ooh, I'm loving the music. Oh my god, she's fucking drunk already. Okay, I'm loving the vibes of this. Oh my god. Oh, what the fuck? Oh. Yo! This is insane looking. Interesting. Oh. Yo. Oh my god. Jesus. And she's just fucking drunk. Oh, that fucking looks amazing. Okay, hell yeah. All right, gonna go through it more thoroughly now. So the first thing I'd like to acknowledge is that this entire trailer is aesthetically amazing and cinematography-wise done really well. And the first sign of that is we have the more cinematic aspect ratio. And as we pan here, the title card of Hoyoverse gets swept behind some of the bamboo, which is just a really cool touch. So as is with pretty much everything we've gotten of her so far, we're getting very distinct sides of her character every time. We had her Myriad Celestia trailer giving a much more somber and serious and dramatic version of herself. We have in the animated short a much more upbeat, energetic version of her. And here we have the duality of the utter badass that she is in the latter half of this, as well as just being a drunken goof, which is fun. I enjoy seeing all of these different facets of her character. It really paints a picture. So here we see she probably was already drinking. She heads up to the gazebo, and I want to look at this again. Interesting. So either she pulls it to her and then stops it and grabs it, or Jinyuan essentially like tosses it at her and she, with whatever power she's using here, stops it to pick it up in just the most graceful, insane way possible that it looks like she's using the Force. I would guess that this wasn't her pulling it to her, but rather it being pushed to her and then her stopping it, given the fact that in a moment here, she tosses it away. And then we have Jinyuan from off screen saying, "You're here," as we then pan to see him sitting at the table. Another thing I'd like to acknowledge is just the lighting is immaculate throughout all of this. It looks amazing. And she responds rather simply saying, "I'm here," stepping towards the table, but tossing away the cup and the drink. As she doesn't want just the cup, she wants the entire jar. At which point Jinyuan says, "You shouldn't have come." Evidently this was probably not an intended meeting. It's more so that she just came along to run into him intentionally or otherwise. And with this acknowledgement of saying she shouldn't have come, he's making sure that she doesn't grab the entire jar. At which point we have the focus on her hand, going to her face, cutting to Jinyuan as he takes a sip of his drink from a simple cup, and she acknowledges, "But I'm already here, so it doesn't matter if I should have come or not," as she kicks the table, knocking everything off, including the drink, and Jinyuan, getting a bit more serious, flips the table even more, and he says, "A visitor isn't always a guest," as we see Feixiao just being completely unperturbed by this. And as the jar drops, Jinyuan is reaching out, prepared to grab it, expecting it to land in his hand, but Feixiao reaches out and gets it before he can, and she says, "Today there is wine, so let us drink." And it goes into her splash art, which looks fucking amazing. The colors are perfect. I love the font. It all just, her art itself looks great. But then we immediately move into the fact that, oh, she's already drunk. She's had like one sip from the jar and now she's drunk. Maybe she shouldn't have been drinking ahead of time as well. Maybe she already was a little bit drunk, and that's why this interaction is going this way. We see how drunk she is in the sense that she's beginning to stumble and everything's getting super blurry and incomprehensible. Interesting, so she has bad grammar here. She says, "Who cares if there are impending business coming up?" Which I'm honestly more inclined to see as actually she is just flubbing her words and not using proper grammar, rather than a mistake on the translation of the subs. As she's going for another drink and stumbling, and now she's just asleep with the jar next to her. Jinyuan, thinking it's over, goes to pick it up, but the instant he reaches for it, she wakes up again and flips away with it as she begins to totally lose grip on reality. As she goes, "Huh? Who are you?" As Jinyuan transforms into a Mara-struck soldier, she downs some more. She dodges an attack, which is probably just Jinyuan lunging to get it out of her hands because he sees the direction this is going. But she just trips him, drinks some more. Classic, like, martial arts drunken master stuff going on here. Suddenly, it's a different enemy with a weapon that's being swung that she just dodges, flipping over them. As we have this incredible splash of color and dynamism, and some words there which aren't translated, so I don't know what they say. If anyone knows what those are saying, feel free to leave it in the comments. I'm really interested. Yeah, and then she says, "Poems and wines are all about today's pleasure." She's clearly just having a good time. And then she drops the jar, saying, "So don't ask me," as suddenly there's a ton of guys, but she begins cutting through them with weaponry when victory arrives. So I want to actually look at this a little bit. I want to analyze this a little bit more closely. So she says, "Poems and wines are all about today's pleasures, so don't ask me when victory arrives." Knowing what I know about her character, that she is the Merlin's Claw, one of the generals, has led countless battles to victory, is one of the legends of the Xianzhou for her martial prowess, first and foremost. It leads me to think that she is someone who is accustomed to victory. She is lacking in regrets and rivals and worries. But with all that in mind, what these lines say to me is that she is someone who is accustomed to victory to the point that she does not expect to lose and expects that when she puts in the effort, she will win. She is confident that when she steps into battle and puts her full effort in, victory will come. And therefore, she is far less concerned about giving it her all constantly. She is only going to do that when she feels it is necessary, which in turn means that she is willing to have some fun when she feels like she doesn't need to be all serious. She's willing to get drunk on a random afternoon because nothing else is happening. She doesn't care if there's pressing business because she knows when push comes to shove, she'll win no matter what. That is what this says to me. Don't control my fun. Don't stop me from having fun, because when you need me to, I will be there to win. That is what this says to me. And as she's saying this, we just have her fighting these various enemies that have come out of nowhere. We get some great visual shots in the process, amazing lighting and everything. But then we transition to an actual battlefield, or at least one she's envisioning in her head, with countless weapons in the ground. Notably no bodies. As she lands, holding her axe now, we get these amazing shots of her hand being held up to her face. That's all like in grayscale, except for these weird waves of energy coming off her hand, obscuring her face. And then we get shots like this. Her coat is gone, the symbol on her back is there, and the red eyes of a wolf, of a Borisin, is there, just glaring down at her. In my mind, clearly some kind of burden she's holding. There's some amazing shots like this. Throughout this entire trailer, there's some incredible shots that I would love to get screenshots of. We get this really interesting imagery of this wolf creature chained down in this darkness. And as we're getting this imagery, we're getting this distorted laugh that then says, to Feixiao presumably, don't joke about stately affairs, for a general's fame requires countless deaths. So if I'm right about what I was saying before of her basically stating her utter confidence in her ability to achieve victory whenever she wants, and the idea that she has the reputation to back that up, this is a direct counter to that, stating that you shouldn't joke about such things, because your reputation that you are now leaning on has been built upon countless dead. You have killed so many people to be where you are today, whether that is literally by your blade or by those who have led into battle who have died. That is what I see this as, a mocking retort to her previous showmanship. And given that this distorted voice with the imagery of the chained wolf, it leads me to this idea that we also get the symbol on her back connected to, that this is a power she has forcibly chained down and taken control of, but that rises up occasionally to try to fight against her in this mocking way, in this retaliatory way. And part of why I think this is with how we effectively have her fighting this giant wolf figure here, as it continues saying, I told you, the day you show your weakness is the day I will devour you whole. And that line leads into what I was talking about just a moment ago. This idea that there's some kind of pact here, as if willingly or otherwise, this beast has made a pact with Feixiao to presumably grant its power to her in some way, but with the stipulation that the instant she shows weakness, the instant she isn't on the top of her game, it will consume her. Which makes me think this is probably the crux of what her mysterious illness is this mysterious pact for power that she has. If I'm to get into some theorizing territory briefly, I would say that probably what has happened is some point earlier in Feixiao's life, when she was younger, when she was learning how to fight, when she was building up her confidence, desperate for that power to protect herself and those around her and bring salvation to the Foxians against the Borisins and such, she conquered some kind of beast and formed a favorable pact with it that, though it grants her power, over time has begun to eat away at her from the inside. And whether she made this pact knowing the consequences or not is another whole story, but that's what I think is going on here. That is my personal theory or headcanon until I see otherwise, which I'm a big fan. I'm a super big fan of superpowered evil side type things with monsters chained away inside you that grant you power, that kind of thing. And there's some amazing visuals here as there's this big like moon eclipse, black hole-esque imagery here. She's the only thing truly in color in this imagery. And then there's just these flashes of blue and red. The red being of the wolf, blue being her. Yeah, no, the colors are just fucking amazing. And the wolf charges some, like, big attack up, which she just casually dodges as she retorts back, saying, and I also said, keep this in the context of what I was talking about of there being some kind of pact, those who hide themselves have no right to be predators. Which leads me to the idea that this was something she subjugated into her control. Something that she conquered and forced to serve her, essentially. And in a way, it's her assuring this creature that she has not shown weakness yet. She might be taking it easy and getting drunk when she wants, but that is not weakness. That is a sign of how confident she is in her own strength, while also asserting that this creature is no predator if it is hiding in the shadows, which perhaps what that leads to is the idea that maybe the reason this thing survived to make a pact with her was because it fled, it hid, rather than just facing her head on. Maybe. I don't know if that's quite right, but that's a way it could be taken. And she picks up the jar once more to drink from it. And then this line leads me to think that this creature is very much a Borisin. Potentially one of the most powerful Borisin, given the nature of this thing being a massive wolf thing that she can use the powers of or whatever. Because of the exact phrasing of this saying, slave, what hubris. The only thing we've heard describe anyone as a slave in the game so far is the Borisin to the Feixians, which would line up in this case, which leads to the idea that an incredibly powerful Borisin, or even some, like, pseudo-god figure, potentially, depending on where we're wanting to go with this, of the Borisin, has been forcibly conquered by Feixiao, but still holds this contempt for her and this belief that it will be able to escape and devour her one day, but is in this context where it's forced to give her its power in some way, as it goes to attack her, to swallow her whole in all likelihood. But then, incredibly easily, showing that she still has complete control over this thing, she stops its entire momentum by just grabbing its tooth, which cannot feel good for the monster, I'll say. Not even dropping the jar, just one hand grabbing the tooth as she responds, hubris? How else can one become a general? Implying that there is an amount of self-confidence and cockiness that one needs to be a general. To be able to be the ruler of countless people, to send them into battle to their deaths for a cause that you tell them is worthy of that. You need to be confident in yourself, beyond confident in yourself. And I personally love that. It shows such a confidence in herself. It also just has that just small enough amount of moral texture to it, in the sense that, generally speaking, when we speak of moral purity or people of pure good, we typically don't think of hubris or cockiness or overconfidence, but it is also, in many ways, an aspiring quality to see someone so assured of themselves. So it's this thing of, it isn't a negative quality that she's expressing here, but it implies certain aspects of her that in the wrong context would be, which I just love. It's really cool. I love when the characters have this little bit of texture to them. And it's here that we get a really amazing visual thing again, of all this brush calligraphy going on just around her, both behind and in front of her, giving depth to this entire thing, as there's this one character in front of her hand, and then there's the other ones behind her, and we have a ton of them just appear as just rubble goes everywhere. And she continues from her last line saying, remember who your master is, as she throws the thing around with ease, wielding her weapons as she slashes down into it, stating herself as the master of this beast, the Merlin's Claw of the Xianzhou Yaoqing, lacking in worries, lacking in regrets, and lacking in rivals, as she slams into it with her fist, having used all her weapons, unleashing this massive torrent of wind, as we then return to the actual real-world position. Now, who knows? Maybe that actually is an entire, like, battle within the mind type thing that just happened, but it also is equally possible this is all just her hallucination as she's destroying the gazebo. But either way, it is an assertion of her power and confidence and control over this power within her that constantly threatens to take her over, but she has no fear in the idea that it ever will. But then we get to this point where we see the goofier side again. She's totally drunk. She drops the empty bottle. It shatters, and she's just sort of mumbling the last thing she was saying, going, lacking in rivals. And she falls over. Jinyuan's still there, just standing there unharmed, as he says, this liquor is strong. She's passing out right after ruining the gazebo. Just some expository stuff at the end, which is very fun, very goofy. It strikes that balance between making her out to be a total badass while also making her an utter goofball, which can often be a very tough thing to balance, but I feel is very fun when done right. And as we pan out, he just says, seriously, no more visits like this, okay? I can't have you destroying the gazebos and getting drunk anymore. And it ends there with a fucking beautiful end logo, and yeah, that's really fun. I love that. It's honestly up there for me. It's a really, really nice trailer, and I'm really looking forward to pulling for her as soon as the update comes out. So with that, I'm going to leave it there. Feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Leave a comment on your thoughts, and I hope you all have a great day. Goodbye.